book is the most powerful item on the whole server. Let me explain. I wrote this book on the first day I joined the server, and it said that whoever owned the book had the right to own the dragon egg. I wrote it as a joke, but then we all agreed that the owner of the egg would rule the entire server, and whoever had the egg must first collect the book from me, sort of like a proof of ownership. After writing it, I put it in my chest, safe near my base, and logged off. When I logged back on, it was gone. Someone had stolen it so that they could rule the server. There were only 3 other people online at the time: Stonks, the server owner, Teriyaki, and Tanks, my teammate. I knew I could immediately cross Tanks off the list. This left 2 suspects, Stonks and Teriyaki. Stonks never really came near spawn, and Teriyaki was nearly always at his nether base. I didn't know how they could have taken it, but I had to find out. The server is called the Pigstep, so Tanks and I decided to build a shrine dedicated to Pikachu. We would build a falling sand trap into a pit full of dripstone spikes, activated by a lever behind my altar. We told Stonks and Teriyaki to come there under the facade of a ceremony. It took us 2 whole days to gather the materials and build the shrine, but it would be worth it if I got my book back. Then, Tank sent me a message on Discord the night before we were going to trap them. Stonks was in spectator mode. Had he seen our trap? It was impossible to know, so I asked him, but he said he accidentally pressed F4. It seemed really suspicious, and I had to make a quick decision. Should we continue with our plan? 2 whole days of work didn't seem worth sacrificing, so I chose to carry on. I told Stonks and Teriyaki that the ceremony would be to sign a treaty called the Pikachu Accords, which would cement the rules of the server. It contained normal rules, like no villager griefing and no base destruction, but also a more personal rule. Nobody shall carry the dragon egg unless you possess its Link 01's book. This was my way of making sure that whoever had the dragon egg must also have my book. All I had to do then was find out who had the dragon egg. Once Stonks and Teriyaki arrived, they were a bit suspicious, so I chatted to them for a bit and we played some games. But then they got a bit too suspicious and started poking around with the carpet, so I flicked the switch. The sand fell and the trap worked perfectly, and Stonks died, but he didn't have anything useful on him, and Teriyaki escaped. I still had no information on who had my book, and as time went on, I knew I only had a few days left to find it before it's placed completely out of my reach forever. But then, I got a massive lead. The evening of the trap, I got a DM from a person called Dank Mia Boy. I didn't know who he was, and he wasn't on the server. All he said to me was, "Teriyaki doesn't have your book. I have it. Meet me at spawn tomorrow." I logged on the next day and waited at spawn. Only Tanks and Stonks are online, but after a while of waiting, I got bored and I logged off. After a few hours, I logged on again later that day, and I found something waiting for me in the place I logged off. It was a sign, and it told me to deposit all of my valuables in a chest under the sign, and that if the chest wasn't full in 24 hours, my book would be destroyed. I had diamonds, spare gear, emeralds and golden apples, but no totems, so I asked Tanks if he had any. He said he didn't, but I didn't believe him because I knew for a fact that he had a raid farm. I asked him to send me a screenshot of his ender chest, but what he sent me changed everything. In his screenshot, his ender chest had the dragon egg in it. I decided to confront him. We started arguing on Discord, and it escalated pretty fast. Our alliance was crumbling as we spoke, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to save it. I knew that something was about to happen, but then, in the heat of things, I said something that I never should have said, because the consequences could have been massive. this moment, I knew that my efforts over the past week were all for nothing, and I knew that I would never see my book again. It was gone forever.